Welcome to the closing line, college football for Saturday, September 29th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Big man on campus should be joining me momentarily, still going through some tech issues. Hopefully those will be rectified in a few moments. We'll have big man on campus joining me in a few moments as well. As usual, a huge slate of college football action to break down this morning. We're looking forward to it. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining in, watching the show. Tune in. We'll try to throw out some games throughout the course of the show. If you've got questions on any games, we'll try to get through them. But we're going to try to do something a little different today. We're going to try to get through every single game on the college football board in rotation order. We haven't done that yet, but if we go rapid fire, which I know sometimes can be difficult for me, I think we can do it. So let's get right to it. Start right at the top of the betting rotation. We've got Army. The Black Knights taking on the Buffalo Bulls. Buffalo laying 7.5, total 54.5, 55 in this game. Surprised the total's as low as it is. Definitely would lean over the total in this game. Tyree Jackson and the Bulls offense has been terrific. They've been able to move the football all season long against really whatever team they've played, whatever defense they've played. And they have played Temple. It was probably the best team they've played so far. I think it's a team, and that Temple does have a decent defense, and Buffalo still moved the ball extremely well. Very potent offense, great offensive line, dual threat quarterback, tremendous group of receivers, a very good running game as well, very well balanced. I think it's going to be trouble for Army to get stops in this football game. On the flip side, you got to go up against that Army triple option attack. You got a situation where Buffalo, doesn't get to see that kind of offense every single week or often during the course of a long season. So, I think it's a situation where Army can have some success moving the ball. Buffalo, I was kind of interested in their side as well, below 7. It's up to 7.5. Now, I don't want Army. I can tell you that. And Buffalo's a one-way team for me right now. Bet on them or leave them alone. So I lean Buffalo. Don't love it at 7.5, though. Definitely more interested in the over in this game. 54.5, I think, is a playable price right now. Cincy, Connecticut. Cincy laying 17.5, 18 on the road, 62 the total here. Look, the UConn defense is pathetic. I mean, absolutely awful. UConn has given up 664 yards per game. That's absolutely atrocious. UConn is not backable to me right now. The only way you can make a real strong case for UConn here to me in this football game is that because you just think their power rating has crashed so low to the point now where there is unavoidable value to back them catching this many points. I can't base betting opinions on that. I've got to be able to see, progress on the football field. I don't see that whatsoever so far from this UConn Huskies team on the defensive side. I know David Pindell has been, okay at times offensively moving this football. Cincinnati, on the other hand, Luke Fickell, head coach of this team, starting to get better in terms of the recruiting battle. He's starting to get some talent brought in here to this Cincinnati team. I don't know what happened to them last week, though. I mean, fell behind big against Ohio, tried to rally back in that football game, made it interesting late. To me, I could only look at Cincinnati here, but the price is pretty high. A game I'm probably going to end up leaving alone here. Central Michigan, Michigan State laying 28 in this game, the total 46.5. It's a dubious spot for Michigan State. I mean, they played Indiana last week. It was a big-time win for Michigan State. They needed it in the worst way. You got a Big Ten battle with Northwestern on deck next week. And in between, you've got this game against Central Michigan. Now, I don't think I want to lay 4 touchdowns with Michigan State in this spot, but is Central Michigan going to score in this game? You really have to ask yourself. This has been a woeful offense. This has been an offense that's really gone downhill this season. I mean, they lost Cooper Rush, who was a very good quarterback for this Chippewas program. Just hasn't been the same offense this season. The quarterback play has been absolutely wretched, turnover laden. That's definitely an issue I've got with Central Michigan. And just they haven't been able to move the football well enough. And they've had turnovers. And Michigan State's defense has the potential to force Central Michigan into a very long and very problematic day trying to move this football. That's a concern for me. I have concern Central Michigan can even find the end zone once or twice in this game. And if I'm going to take an underdog in this price range, I need to have some kind of conviction they can score. And I'm not sure we're going to get that from Central Michigan here today. So I'm not really all that much of an opinion here on this game one way or the other. It's just to pick your poison. Do you want to lay 4 touchdowns with Michigan State, who, let's be honest, they've been a little bit of a disappointment so far this season. They squeaked by Utah State, lost to Arizona State. It's been not the season we thought we'd see from this Sparty team. Not ready to lay 4 touchdowns, but I've got real concerns about Central Michigan's ability to score here. Northern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, very interesting MAC battle. We've got Eastern Michigan laying 3.5 at home, total 48.5. Here's my conundrum with this game. I think Eastern Michigan's the better of these two teams this season. I think they're better than Northern Illinois. I certainly like the progress Chris Creighton, the head coach of this Eastern Michigan program's made throughout the course of his tenure here. But there's a real problem with the spot here for Eastern Michigan. I mean, you were off an absolute physical war on the West Coast last week, late Saturday night action against San Diego State. Game went to overtime. Gut-wrenching loss for the Eastern Michigan Eagles. Do you get up off the mat that easily, come back, bounce back here at home, MAC conference game against Northern Illinois? We'll see. But the spot really, truly does concern me. That was a gut-wrenching loss. It was a late-night game on the West Coast. You got to readjust, get back to the cozy confines here of Ypsilanti and try to get ready for Northern Illinois here. But I still think Eastern Michigan's a better team this year than Northern Illinois. I know Northern Illinois had some decent results last week, not a pretty showing for them on the road against Florida State. Florida State kind of used Northern Illinois as a get-well game. I think consistency at the quarterback issue is still a bit of an issue for Northern Illinois. Let's not forget, defensively, they've taken some steps back as well. Remember Iowa earlier this season. That's a pedestrian Iowa Hawkeyes team offensively, and they were able to just move the football. Iowa was able to move the football at will pretty much in that game against Northern Illinois earlier. But sometimes you just have to look at a game and say, okay, I think fundamentally, matchup-wise, Eastern Michigan is better on both sides of the ball, and I really do think that. But the situationals are so questionable for Eastern Michigan that I've got trouble actually going ahead and laying the 3.5 with them here. Sometimes the fundamentals do need to override the situationals. I think that could be the case here. If I'm playing this game, I could only back EMU, but I don't think I'm going to. I'm just a little bit concerned about maybe a little hangover after the West Coast late night affair that ended very, very painfully for Eastern Michigan last week. We've got Kent State, Ball State next up, 117, 118. Ball State laying 7, total 63 in this game. Over definitely has been hit hard in this game. It was 57. The total, it's up to 63, 63.5 right now. I agree with it. I think we're going to see points here. You got to like the Ball State offense. They can certainly move the football. I don't know what happened to them last week. I mean, they lose 28-20 to Western Kentucky. Look out for Western Kentucky. I mean, they've made a quarterback change, and it looks like they're starting to get some things going. So maybe I don't penalize Ball State too much for that, but they have an offense that certainly should be capable of moving the football here in this game against Kent State. We know Kent State, it's been a 360-degree transformation for them in terms of their system and scheme. What do we remember Kent State being all these years? A very plodding, pedestrian, pro-style offense, very, very slow-paced type of team, methodical. They were moving the football. Now Kent State's gone the Dino Babers, Mike Leach route, where it's pass heavy, it's up tempo. We try to run as many plays as possible. And I think early in the season, there were a lot of people not really reacting quickly enough to just the change in scheme and system for Kent State on the offensive side of the football. I think those days are changing right now because you see this total has clearly been affected and impacted by Kent State's new offensive philosophy that they have this season. But I agree with it. I mean, and their defense is still not very good, capable of getting shredded and beaten up. They actually did a good job keeping Ole Miss in check at times last week, but some of that was turnover related. Definitely agree with this move in the total. 63, it's a question of is there still value? But certainly even at 63 right now, would be interested in a play on the over. Before we get to Rice Wake Forest, I believe we've got Big Man on campus. Here he is. We're ready to rock and roll on this closing line. Big Man, how are you this morning?
Hey, how are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we're just going through the games, rapid fire here, game by game. We're at Rice and Wake. Wake 28, 65 the total. I'll make it quick. I want the over or nothing here. I know Wake Forest fired their defensive coordinator after the game against Notre Dame. I'm not sure how much that's going to make a difference in 1 week of practice just because you fire the DC. What I saw last week from Wake was a problem with open field tackling. That's not going to get solved overnight. What I saw last week was a lack of a pass rush. not stopping the run. That's not going to get solved overnight. Question is, can Rice move this football well enough? To me, it's over or pass. Sidewise, I'm not really in love with it either way. I don't love Rice, but I don't love laying this many points with a struggling Wake Forest defense. So over's my lean in this game. Anything before the games, before Rice and Wake, big man, that you're interested in here today?
Well, with Rice and Wake, I have to agree with you on the over. I mean, both these teams, 113th, 118th defensively in the country, just don't get it done. Rice is a team that can't stop anybody. They have a decent offense. I mean, they can move the ball. I don't think they'll have a ton of trouble against Wake. Generally, when you fire the defensive coordinator in the middle of the season, that just means you're throwing in the towel, frankly. I mean, what are you going to really change in the middle of the season? I would look over as well in that game. As far as the rest of them so far, a lot of games I won't be getting involved with. I mean, I did mention all week, I did lean Army in this spot. I think it's a good spot for them as far as the midshipmen are concerned. Buffalo are a good team. They're definitely going to air it out a little bit, but they may be down a receiver today in Anthony Johnson, which he's probably their best receiver. I think Army could stay in this game with time of possession. Ian, they lead the country in that category, 41 minutes a game. So if they're going to hold on to the football, and if if they can go up and score, let's go up 7-0. Could be an interesting day. Getting 7.5 points, I'd lean Army. I got to be honest, and I'm surprised. I heard you mention you like the over. I kind of like the under. I think this total is a bit high. I mean, both these defenses pretty good. I mean, both rank, I believe, in the top 50 defensively. Both are generally pretty good against the run. But again, we know the Army run is a little different than normal. There's a lot of pitches and things like that. So that could obviously be some trouble. But the only one that I really would be into would be Army and maybe over and Wake. But Ian, I'll let you keep posting. You're doing a job with that.
Yeah, so definitely right. The thing with the over in the Buffalo game that why I was leaning that way is I remember Buffalo pulling Temple of all teams into an over that got into the 60s. So that's always the thing with Buffalo is that they're so explosive and they're such a quick strike offense at times that they can make up for maybe lack of pace moving the ball from the Army side. But that remains to be seen. We'll see how that one plays out. How about ODU and East Carolina? ODU with one of the most incredible wins you'll ever see last week against Virginia Tech, and here they are catching a full touchdown against East Carolina. How about this line where it is right now, 60.5? Blake LaRussa looking like Joe Montana out there last week against Bud Foster's defense. That really was hard to believe. I mean, just shredded that Virginia Tech team, which had defensive line injuries in that game. They lose their quarterback, Josh Jackson, in that game. He's going to be gone for a while. Now, is there a hangover for ODU? Huge win. The coach was just at the post-game press conference of a lifetime talking about it. East Carolina has made some strides, particularly defensively in recent weeks, but they're still not a team I'm ready to lay 7. Unfortunately, I've got a real concern ODU bounces hard off that caliber of a win last week, so it's not a game I have much on. What about you, big man?
Yeah, this is one of those games where I'm not ready to lay points with East Carolina. I'm just not sure in a favorite role. That's where I want this team. They're improved. They're better defensively. They've gotten better, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to lay points with them either. Old Dominion, obviously off a big win, a win that I think if you played 100 more games like that, they wouldn't get again. It was just one of those games where everything seemed to work for that group. I get the feeling this is a closer game. I'm just not ready. When I'm looking at a favorite, I'm not exactly looking for it to be East Carolina. They're at home here. They have a great fan base down there in Greenville, but I'm wanting to say this is a field goal game, I would lean.
Yeah, Bowling Green, Georgia Tech next up, 123-124. Georgia Tech, 4-touchdown favorite, total 65.5. Really not a whole lot here. Georgia Tech still defensively has enough concerns for me where they're the type of team I don't really love laying 4 touchdowns with. And remember, triple option. It's not exactly like they run blistering pace either. Defensive concerns. But Bowling Green, to me, just a lousy football team. I'm not going to ask them to do anything for me. I've got them probably bottom 10, bottom 15 teams in the country right now. It's a pass for me. What about you, big man?
Yeah, I mean, you're always skeptical to lay a big number, 4 touchdowns with Georgia Tech, but Ian, Bowling Green is the worst rush defense in the country. They're dead last, giving up over 333 yards a game. 333 yards a game is vile. That is absolutely terrible. You look at the next closest team to them, Ian, UConn. They're only giving up 309, so they're giving up almost 20 plus yards more per game on the ground than anyone else in the country. 15 rushing touchdowns. That doesn't bode well against an offense that's just going to downhill run all game. Do I think Bowling Green can score? Yeah, I mean, they haven't been bad this year. I mean, you look at their offense, put up 23 against Miami, Ohio, beat East Kentucky, beat up 45 there. Put up a couple 24 against Oregon. I want to say this game goes over. I mean, Georgia Tech's going to absolutely shred Bowling Green on the ground. They may run for 500 yards in this game. Bowling Green are absolutely vile on the ground defensively.
All right, next up, Temple Boston College, and I've got my I use a resource online for notes for each game, and I'm looking at them like Temple at LaSalle. What the fuck? They're not playing LaSalle. Oh, it's college basketball for next month. Okay, that's why it says Temple LaSalle on my screen. Okay, wrong sport. I know Big Man's getting ready for college basketball. No one's more excited for CBB starting than him. But yes, it's Temple Boston College, and we are talking football, not basketball. But yeah, BC laying 13 here in this game. The total. What is that? 54 in this game. Is this a resurgence for Temple now? All of a sudden, off to a very, very slow start to the season. Loss against Buffalo. All of a sudden, back-to-back games where they look good. They beat Maryland. They beat Tulsa. Is this a sign of a turnaround here for Jeff Collins' team? It looks like the quarterback change, getting Newtown out of there has helped. Raquel Armstead's gotten the ball going a little bit, running the football for this Temple team. Defensively, they've played a lot better. Is this the start of something to come? Boston College, I would expect their best effort here, Big Man, because of the loss against Purdue last week. They didn't play well. Steve Adazio was not happy with the way his team performed. Anthony Brown was hideous at the quarterback spot, and this is going to be the concern for BC. Shut down A.J. Dillon, key on him, take him away. Can you force Anthony Brown to beat you? Anthony Brown could not beat Purdue last week. Can he play better this week? Interesting game, but there's people liking Temple. The Temple's taking some money, and given their recent form and catching all these points, not necessarily crazy for doing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, Temple's been able to get the run game going. That's been kind of the big thing. You look at the first two losses, couldn't get it going. Last 2 weeks, 165, 191 on the ground. They've been able to take some pressure off of the new quarterback, Frank Russo, who's actually played very well. He comes in for Frank Newtown. Newtown wasn't really getting it done. He was throwing some interceptions. And this offense has looked better. You also look at the fact that this defense is flying around, Dean Cameron. They're getting turnovers. They've 7 turnovers or 7 takeaways in the last 2 games. They're flying around. They've been good against not only the run, but against the pass as well. They haven't given up more than 200 yards over the last 2 games through the air. And you face 2 decent offenses in Maryland and Tulsa. You're going to get another good one here. My question is, can Temple stop the run? A.J. Dillon's going to be leaned on in this game. From a number perspective, I thought early in the week was maybe if you wanted to grab Temple, that was probably the right time. I think at this point, 12.5, 13, it's just not enough for me. It's a line profile that I don't really like. I feel like if I'm going to be laying, or getting this kind of number, I at least want to get 2 touchdowns. You could have got early in the week, Ian, on Monday or Sunday night. You could have got 14.5, 14, 15. I mean, you even look up till, Monday afternoon, you could still get 14. The line profile at this point, I'm just not interested in, especially off a loss. BC could come out, and kind of take care of business. If I want this game, I'm looking more towards 2 touchdowns in an early road game for Temple.
All right, next one up. This is one of the bigger ones on the noon slate. Syracuse taking on Clemson, ACC battle. Clemson laying 25, total 64-65 in that range. I think it's too many points to lay with Clemson. Although this is one spot where I could see Dabo Swinney, if he's up 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, punching in that late touchdown because of what happened last year, losing to Syracuse. This could be extend the margin type of game and opponent for Dabo if he gets that chance. I like the over more in this game at 64. There's going to be a different looking Clemson offense with Trevor Lawrence now at the quarterback spot. They're going to take shots. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to let this kid throw the ball because he's got an electric arm and he can make all the throws. I think you're going to see a lot more explosiveness, not only today, but moving forward now that Lawrence is the quarterback for this Clemson team. And I think Syracuse can move the ball. It does concern is run heavy. They really rely on Dungy's mobility. They really rely on running the ball. They're a sometimes erratic passing offense, but I think still Dungy can make a few plays. I'm worried about that element of Clemson maybe wanting to run up this score. I'd still lean Syracuse. I still think we may not even see Clemson get to a point where they're up by 21, 24 points in this game, but that would be the concern if they do. I like the over. Definitely, though, in this game, 64. Big man, your take, Syracuse, Clemson.
Yeah, I agree with you here. I mean, I think Clemson will obviously put up plenty of points. I think Syracuse, do struggle on that end, and I think for this one they'll struggle here. This is just a better, more athletic team on offense with Trevor Lawrence in there. Now you would expect them to put up plenty of points here. The question is, can Syracuse score? I think they can. I mean, you look at the one quality opponent Clemson's faced. They had struggles getting stops. They gave up over 500 yards in that game, 430 of them through the air. I think Syracuse is obviously going to have to play from behind in this game. They're going to have to, score some late touchdowns to even cover this one. I'm willing to think the game's like 44-24 or like 51-24, something like that. I think obviously Clemson's playing with the revenge, but Dino Babers a good coach. I mean, this guy's done a nice job up at Syracuse. He did great at Bowling Green. He's done a nice job at Cuse, obviously winning last year. They're not going to be scared going into this game, but and this offense has scored 50 or more in 3 different games this year, so they could put up points. The question is, you're obviously facing a better, stronger, good defense, but the secondary for Clemson is a bit of a concern because the one opponent that can move the football against them. So I'd lean over as well. But I'll be really frank, Ian. I'm not a huge fan of 12 o'clock games. I just from a perspective of these being kids, I'm not a big fan of them. But yeah, I could see the over coming in here.
Yeah, South Alabama, App State, not going to spend much time on this. App State 25.5 favorites, total 57. South Alabama's had a litany of offensive issues for years. I mean, their quarterback play's been awful. They fired their offensive coordinator last year. Things really haven't gotten progressively better. App State has the chance to run this up. I'd probably lean with the favorite here in this game. You got anything, big man, here?
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, App State's profile this year has been totally different from normal. Generally they're kind of a ground and pound, rugged defensive team, but not this year. I mean, they're putting points on the board this year. Off a 72-7 win against Gardner-Webb. You put up 45 against Charlotte, 38 against Penn State. This offense has been a lot better with Zach Thomas at quarterback. He's a little bit more mobile, a little bit better from a quarterback perspective. When you mention South Alabama, it's always the fact that they can't score enough. That doesn't bode well against a pretty good defense team. It wouldn't surprise me if this game is similar to the Charlotte game, maybe 38-7 or 38-10, something like that. App State, from an offensive perspective, has been very good this year.
Virginia Tech, Duke. We've got Duke laying 4.5. They're actually getting some money, total 51. Shocking news really out of Duke. If you've been reading their quotes, reading what's been going on in practice this week, we actually may see their quarterback, Daniel Jones, today back for the Duke Blue Devils. He's been dealing with a broken collarbone. He's actually been practicing this week, splitting reps, and apparently he's looked good in practice. This has got to be one of the quickest, most remarkable rehabilitation things that I've ever seen if he ends up playing today. But there's a potential. We may see Jones back for Duke here. Look, everyone's going to say Virginia Tech bounce back spot off the shame of last week. I'm not sure they step up. I really am not. And I'm not in any rush to go against Duke right now. Duke has been a terrific team. They've been undervalued from day one. They've been underrated from day one. You don't give up 600 some yards to ODU last week and just fix things overnight and fix things next week with defensive line injuries, with your quarterback out. Going into Duke now, playing a very good Duke defense. It's Duke or nothing for me. In fact, I laid a little 3.5, 4 with Duke earlier this week. I think they're going to take care of business here. I think there's big problems for Virginia Tech moving forward.
Yeah, this is a tough game. Drew Martin and I talked about this game, and I mean, according to Matt Fortuna, who is a national collegiate writer for Athletic, he's saying that Daniel Jones will start tonight against Virginia Tech. That is quite amazing from a rehabilitation perspective of him being able to come back and play. That's obviously good news for Duke here. But Duke still has some injuries. They have some injuries in their secondary. Their top receivers injured as well. Virginia Tech has problems also. Josh Jackson out. There's just a litany of issues in this game. But now that Daniel Jones is playing, look, who knows how long he even plays. The backup also was hurt last week, and this number's already up to 5. So if you like Duke, you might want to get on this because information's coming out that and from quality writers that Jones will start. Jeff Gravely also reporting that from broadcasting down in the the NC area. So yeah, I would say maybe jump on Duke at this point with that defense and their quarterback back.
Yeah, Monroe, Georgia State next up. We've got Monroe laying 6.5, 7 on the road, total 64, 64.5. Monroe is the better of these two teams. I think if you can get below 7, they're worth a little look here. Even more of a look to me, the over in this game. Georgia State can't stop anything. I like Caleb Evans. I like Matt Vietor and the way he's run this team. Offensively, they've been very good since he got there as the ULM head coach. Definitely like the over in this game. Big man, your thoughts here?
I had Monroe last week, came up short. They had a shot at the goal line to win the game last week and cover, but they weren't able to get the job done and get back into the game. I don't have much on this. I'm not a big fan of the Sun Belt. I mean, there are certain spots where I look to grab it, but this isn't one of them. Both defenses have struggled this year. I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of the offenses. I do like Monroe. Smith is a real good quarterback. This is a group that can move the football. I feel like, anything under a touchdown, I'd probably lean towards Georgia State or not Georgia State, Monroe to beat Georgia State. I just haven't seen enough out of the Panthers where I'm too keen on them. I lean Warhawks here.
All right, next up we got UMass, Ohio, 13.5, 14 for Ohio, total 67.5. Bit of a rocky season for UMass. Team that was expected to be pretty good, at least offensively, maybe a little bit improved defensively, but they've had some uneven results so far. Ohio had a barn burner last week against Cincinnati. Crazy football game there. I still think with UMass in this price range, they're not an easy team to bet against because they still have that offense that can come through the back door if necessary. Don't have really much on this game. Big man, any thoughts on Minutemen and Bobcats?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of points in this game. I'll be honest with you. Both these defenses have some real trouble, Ian. I mean, you look at really up and down the board. Neither team can get many stops. UMass over the years, I mean, about UMass. They've turned into kind of just a crazy offense. I mean, they just put up a ton of points. They don't get any stops. I mean, UMass is 121st in the country, giving up almost 40 points a game. Ohio hasn't been much better. They're giving up 37. Neither offense, is going to get slowed down here. I think we see a lot of points in this one. It wouldn't surprise me if this was the highest scoring game of the day. I think last year it was 59-52, I want to say, or 58-50. It wouldn't surprise me if it's like that again. These are offenses that bomb away. One team can run the ball real well. UMass is going to be able to throw the ball real well. I lean over in this game. I think there's some points here.
Yeah, my buddy Nathan Rourke, quarterback for the Ohio Bobcats, is from just an hour down the road here, Oakville, Ontario. Good for him leading that team at the quarterback spot. Pittsburgh, Central Florida, UCF 13.5, home favorites, total 65.5. I'm going to grab some Pitt here. I mean, I'm going to dare UCF's defense to do enough to cover this kind of number. I know they did against Florida Atlantic. Pittsburgh's offense improving. Kadri Allison, a tremendous running back. I think Kenny Pickett is finally, after a slow start, starting to settle down at the quarterback position. This is the price range I like Pitt. Getting double digits. They're feisty. They usually rise up and give better teams a battle. And don't forget, they gave Penn State a battle in that first half. They just didn't capitalize on their opportunities. I'm on Pitt. I'm on the over as well. In this game, you can't look anything but over with UCF right now. They're an over machine with Milton running that offense. So Pitt for me and the over. Any take on this game, big man?
Yeah, this number I'm leaning the other way with UCF. I mean, Pittsburgh's failed to cover 9 of 10 non-conference games. They're on the road here down in Florida. This defense, same old stuff with Pittsburgh. They can't get stops defensively, and that's been a problem that Pat Narduzzi's had. I mean, Nathan Elliott, we saw what UNC was the other night. I mean, they scored 38 points and shredded this defense. So I don't have a lot of stock that they can get any stops in this game. I'll be honest with you. I was close to betting this as one of my plays today in college football. I think they take care of Pittsburgh here. But you have to ask yourself, I think the one knock here was, it is an ACC team here. Maybe Pitt gives the last stand here. Yeah. They are 2-2. I mean, this is a game that you would think they can hang around in, but they just haven't been good in non-conference games, and I am concerned about that defense. But then you say to yourself, why not just bet the over then? Because UCF's going to put 40+ on the board. Pittsburgh could, I think, run with them. Kenny Pickett's an okay quarterback. You mentioned Olison in the run game. There's some good overs today, I think, on the board, and this is now they're probably one of them.
South Carolina, Kentucky. How about an intriguing SEC matchup, especially after what Kentucky did against Mississippi State last week? What a performance by them. How about Kentucky? Maybe they are good after all. We've got Kentucky, a 1.5-point home underdog, total 51.5 in this game. Two teams playing some decent football. Jake Bentley, Terry Wilson, the two quarterbacks. Terry Wilson's a very athletic quarterback, could get better throwing the football, but when you got a Benny Snell to rely on, really doesn't matter. You can hand the ball off and not ask your quarterback to do too much. South Carolina does have a very, very good defense, though, so it's going to be an interesting challenge for this Kentucky team. But hey, I've been more down on Kentucky than I think than what they've played so far. I'm getting rid of that opinion for now. If I'm playing this one, I'm back in Kentucky because to me, they've proven enough. I'm a little concerned coming off the big win. Maybe there's a little letdown after beating Mississippi State, but home underdog price could only look Kentucky here.
Yeah, I'm not buying it with Kentucky. I know I give them respect for the wins that they've had. I'll be interested to see where this line closes because, if Kentucky closes as a favorite, I mean, Mark Stoops doesn't cover games as a favorite. So that's a concern here for them. But I like South Carolina. I think they're flying under the radar. I think you're right. They have a very good defense. You look at overall, they're only giving up 23 points a game this year. Jake Bentley, I love a quarterback. I'm a big Debo Samuel fan. They got Rico Dowdy in the backfield. This is a good offense and a good defense. That's one thing where they've struggled. They haven't always been able to move the ball with Will Muschamp there. But Kentucky's strong. I mean, they're a strong, tough team on the defensive line. They have a good run game. I'm willing to think this game is a lower scoring game. Game played in maybe the high teens, low 20s. 24-20. 24-17, something like that. These are two teams that constitute maybe some hard-nosed, smash-mouth football. But, this has been a line, Ian, where if you know college football like we do, you're around it a lot. This is one of those where I've bet unders in these kind of games, and this game is 24-21 with 2 minutes to go. Someone tries to kick it onside, and the other team takes it the other way, and you lose your under. I've been on a couple of those in the SEC. It's kind of random, but it happens. I think the total is a bit too high. To me, it's probably like 48-49, not 51.5. I think the game's played in the low 20s.
I agree. To me, unders don't usually end well for me, but if I had to play an under, this would be one. Definitely agree with that. Should be lower scoring. Virginia, NC State. Here's one I don't like the under in. NC State 5.5, 6, 52.5, 53. Virginia's got an offense now. Virginia's 4-0 against the spread. They've been an undervalued commodity from day one. Bryce Perkins, dual threat quarterback's been great running this offense. Bronco Mendenhall's defense has been really good. And NC State really has not been tested a whole lot this year. They've played the likes of James Madison, Georgia State, Marshall. Marshall was a good win. I'll give him credit for that. But this is your first real good test. You're laying 6. I still think this defense lost a lot of pieces from last year, including, of course, Bradley Chubb. Hasn't shown up yet. I think it shows up a little bit today. I think Virginia's a very, very live team to pull off this upset. I like Ryan Finley and the NC State offense a lot. And that's why I like the over in this game as well, because I think NC State, again, improved offense, maybe a little bit worse defensively. So I like Virginia plus the points and the over in that game. And Big Man must be getting good news in the soccer from his reaction there.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. I just want to make this clear. I am very excited for September to end. Wake me up when September ends.
Yes.
It's not been a great month for me. I killed it in basketball, killed it in soccer World Cup. I just haven't done too well this month, but I'd like to just end on a high note here with soccer. I got a good piece of news here, so hopefully it finishes out. But yeah, Ian, I hear you on Virginia. I think they're improved. I mean, you're obviously improved. They're 3-1. They've done a nice job so far, but this is a road game against a really good offense. Ryan Finley, no one's talked about this guy, but let's be real. This guy can move the football. I mean, really good. 300-plus yards in every game this year. Is Virginia able to handle that? That's a big question mark for me. It looks a bit too low to me, but I hear your thoughts on Virginia. This team has improved significantly. This is a big step up, but that was a nice win last week against the Louisville Cardinal. I'm kind of a numb on this one. I could see both sides coming in here. The slightest of leans, I just don't really like betting against Ryan Finley. I think he's a solid quarterback. But this is a long cry from where this defense was last year for NC State. It's a tough one. Pass for me.
All right, Indiana, Rutgers, 14.5, 15. I'm going to be very brief. You want to lay more than 2 touchdowns on the road with Indiana? That's never something I'm in love with doing it. But on the flip side, you want to take Rutgers getting any amount of points right now? I mean, that's really your poison here. Pick your poison in this game. I got nothing, big man. You got anything here?
No. I'm not betting Rutgers. This team is just disgusting. I mean, they're really bad. But I will point out, I can't believe I'm saying this. I don't know if I'm looking to lay 16.5 with Indiana. I'm not.
No.
And if Indiana's going to play better, or if Rutgers is going to play better, it's generally been at home. But after last week's performance against a MAC team, you should show some kind of pride here. I'm not in any way telling you to bet on Rutgers, but for some reason, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like 31-17 or something. Indiana, I'm not running to bet on at this number.
Nevada Air Force, Nevada taking a ton of money, 7.5 down to 3.5, 4-point move, total 64. I agree with the move. Nevada with Ty Ganji at quarterback, they're an offense that's always it can keep you in games. Air Force is not a team that's typically going to run away from you and hide and win games by margin. Nevada sees the triple option every year when they play Air Force. It shouldn't be something that catches them totally off guard. I think, though, these are 2 bad defenses. Nevada's probably not going to stop Air Force, but I don't see Air Force stopping Nevada's passing attack either. It's just a question of, can Nevada make enough quick strike plays offensively to overcome the slow, deliberate, methodical pace that Air Force is going to try to have? Triple option, hold on to the football. I think they can. I still think it can get up and over the total. I like the over. And I like Nevada. We've lost a lot of value, but still lean Nevada. Big man, what do you think?
Yeah, Ian, that's an interesting point, and I want to make this clear. Air Force has become a totally different football team as far as tempo. You look at last week, they ran 107 plays in that game against Utah State. Last year in this game against Nevada, they ran 95 plays. And Ian, take a listen to this. Last year, Air Force, 91 rushes, 550 yards on the ground. Nevada can't stop Air Force. They've made it clear time and time again. I look at Nevada. Where's Air Force going to get stops? Air Force can't stop the pass. And Ty Ganji loves to throw the football. For me, it's not a question. I like the over here.
All right, Utah, Washington State. Very interesting Pac-12 battle here. Utah opened as a road underdog. Now they're a road favorite, 1.5 total. 49.5, 50. Not a game I have much of an opinion on, but fascinated to watch. I mean, because you've got Utah, whose offense hasn't clicked. I mean, Tyler Huntley, I was talking him up big time before the season began. He hasn't been consistent yet this year. What I do know from Washington State is they have been very good offensively. Gardner Minshew's been fantastic. Not the reason they lost to USC. Was the defense that lost it for Washington State. So you've got really a situation where it's a good Utah defense against a very good Washington State offense. And then on the flip side, Washington State's defense is suspect. Utah's offense, rather, has been suspect. So you got like strength versus strength, weakness versus weakness here kind of matchup. Tough game to call. Whittingham off a bye is very good. Utah's been very good off a bye in recent years. Maybe that's why they're taking money. But I like what I'm seeing out of Minshew. I'm in no hurry to fade Washington State, especially catching points now. What do you think, big man? It's an interesting game.
Oh, it is. It's a fascinating game. And, it's a clash in styles, Ian, because you have a team in Utah who have been absolutely terrific against the pass. Number 1 in passing yards allowed in the country, only giving up 93 per game, only 3.35 yards per attempt. But then you look at who they played. I mean, not a murderer's row of passing teams. I mean, Weber State, Northern Illinois might be the worst offense in Division I football. I mean, Washington, isn't going to fly it around either a ton. They try to run on the ground and short passes. And Washington State, on the other hand, is the 3rd best passing attack in the country, or 2nd best. Sorry. I'm not crazy to bet against them at home. Utah hasn't really been able to figure out Washington State over the years. An interesting point maybe in this game is 5 of the last 6 in this series have gone over the number. You have a total pretty low. And I got to tell you, Ian, I see Washington State. They're statistically a good defense, but I think a lot of it's had to do with who they played. You look at last week, I mean, they finally play a good offense and they get shredded. So, I'm not ready to bet against them, though, at home. I just don't see the Utah being able to move the football as effectively as I think as they want to. I think getting points at home, I'm leaning Wazoo here.
Oregon State, Arizona State, another Pac-12 game. Arizona State laying 21.5, 22, total 63 in this game. Not really much here. This is not the price range I like Herm Edwards and Arizona State in. Give them credit. They've been a lot better than I ever thought they'd be so far. Well, Oregon State's just way too banged up. Secondary injuries. Quarterback Jake Luton likely not to play. He's banged up, so could be seeing the backup for Oregon State. Too many issues for them. Pass for me. Anything on this game, big man?
I haven't been much involved this year with Oregon State. Can Arizona State score enough points to cover this one? I don't know. Pass for me.
All right, BYU, Washington, 17.5, 47 the total. Under is the way I'd go. I really actually like this game under the total. Jake Browning's not big-time quarterback. I'm sorry. I mean, this guy doesn't do enough for me offensively. Like, you can rave all you want and everyone touting him, big-time NFL prospect. I don't see it with him. I really don't. I mean, I see a guy that makes mistakes, bad decisions at times, a little erratic throwing the ball, doesn't have the kind of pop in his arm that I think people thought coming into his career at Washington. BYU's a very stagnant offense. They're very pedestrian as well. Tanner Mangum, he's okay. He's not great by any stretch. Defenses should rule under the total for me.
Yeah, I think you're right on Browning. I think we're starting to see that with this guy. I kind of thought in his senior season it'd be that last swan song for the guy. They have a great team. Maybe he'd lead them to the Pac-12 title, and they could still very well win the Pac-12 title for sure. They're probably the best team, but hey, don't sleep on that Colorado Buffalo team. They look pretty good as well. This is a lot of points for a Brigham Young team that is going to sit on the ball. It's what they do. They run the football with Squally Canada. They play defense. Sataki always has a very strong defensive front. I think if they can complete some passes in this game, it's not going to be easy because, Washington might have the best secondary in the country, but I think this is too many points to me. I'm not ready to lay up a number like this with Washington because I don't see them win by this margin very often. I mean, you lose your first game. You only beat Utah by 14. You only beat Arizona State by 7. You look back to last year, they don't have a good kicker either. So they may go into situations with the thought of getting it. They may be stopped on 4th down, lead points on the board. I'm looking towards Brigham Young. But, Ian, I have to tell you, do we have any other 12 o'clock games to get through? I kind of want to bang those few out, and then we can just
okay. Well, and then we'll go back to the rest of them. Okay, Lafayette, Bama, quickly. Nothing on this. Bama games are impossible. I'm not laying 48.5, but I'm not making a case for Lafayette. Nothing there for me.
I'll tell you this, and I want to make this clear to the chat. We're going to go over every game. If we go over 12 a little bit, that's fine. We're going to try to get to everyone. As far as this game, Ian, I would lay it. I don't have any confidence that Lafayette can even score in this game. UL Lafayette, as far as defensively, are absolutely terrible. This is a bad football team, and I don't really have any thought. I mean, it is a lot of points, though. You really have no real margin for error here if you're Alabama, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is 52-0.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Texas Tech, West Virginia. That's the next noon start on the schedule as I go down here and look at them. West Virginia, 3.5, 4 road favorites. Finally, this total's getting bumped up. It's going to 73.5, even 75s. It's getting hit hard right now, and I don't disagree. This is definitely last team with the football, probably going to win this football game. It has that feel to it. We talked about this game on the Roundtable show on Wednesday. I would only back West Virginia here. I mean, I need to see more out of Texas Tech than just beating Oklahoma State last week. Oklahoma State maybe in a little bit of a vulnerable spot after the big game against Boise, potentially. Very impressive win. Don't take anything away from Texas Tech for it, but I've seen Kingsbury's teams over the years enough to know that rarely have they followed up a big win with another good game. That's my concern with them here, and I really am concerned for that Tech defense against Will Grier and company. Think they're going to be able to move the football, but I do think Tech's going to move the ball. I mean, West Virginia's defense, still their weakness. Maybe they found a quarterback here, Texas Tech, a little bit, because I'll tell you what, Bowman was phenomenal in that game last week here. Alan Bowman just tremendous at the quarterback spot for Texas Tech. See if he can keep it going. I like West Virginia, played them and the over in this game as well.
Yeah, Ian, before we move on, I want to point this out. This is kind of amazing. Every game in the Premier League today is 2-0. How's that possible?
Wow.
That's
Every
kind of weird.
game.
Yeah, so far. I
That
mean,
is.
we could have a late goal, but if you have some overs in this league, you're going to be falling short. It's going to be sick for you.
Well, I
But
was going
every
to
game.
say, with it being 2-0, that means there's going to be a lot of those totals, I think, are two and a
Let's
half.
just
So
say
there's
I'm
going to
sure a
be a
lot
lot
of
of people.
people are praying for late goals in some of these games. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
But
big
yeah,
time. Oh,
this game here, the total is weird. I mean, you look at this total, Ian. Early in the week, it was 76, 77. Now, then it went down to 72. Sat at 72 for a little bit. Now this morning, it's up to 75 and a half. Look, if you could try to figure that out, I'd like to hear from you. I will say this still, though. I don't see how it doesn't go over. Both these teams go up and down. They love to throw it. I'm not buying Tech's defense. I'm not. But it is an early game. That's the only knock you have here on the total. I prefer these games like at night. There's just something about 12 o'clock games to me to kids where, look,
yeah.
I know how 20-year-old, 19-year-old kids are. I know how I was at that age, and I wasn't a high-level athlete either. But most kids live regular lives. These aren't like guys that live in mansions and have chefs and stuff. I mean, they wake up and are tired just like I am. So I'm not crazy about this. I don't like it from a basketball perspective either. I'd still think this game gets into the 80s. It's hard thinking these two don't get into the 40s, each of them. I think it could be a fun one. I'm sick of not betting Texas Tech overs, but it is a weird line, and it has been weird.
Arkansas A&M, this is the last of the noon starts, and then we'll wheel back to Toledo, Fresno, and go down the card from there. Arkansas A&M, we've got A&M laying about 20 in this game, 20 and a half, total 56 and a half. Arkansas is not backable to me. I'm sorry. They're still not backable. Defense that's been ripped apart. They've had injury problems on both sides of the ball, offensive injuries, defensive injuries. The quarterback play's been not very good. We're talking about a team that's going through one of the toughest, most difficult offensive scheme and system transitions imaginable, a run-heavy, plodding offense under Brett Bielema to a spread, up-tempo attack under Chad Morris. And it's you got pieces in this offense, holdovers from the Bielema era that are a misfit, that aren't fitting with this new offense. Arkansas is going to take time, and I feel bad for Chad Morris. He's a coach I like. I still like him. He's going to get them turned around in time, but it's going to take time, and they're not ready to compete right now. That's as clear as day. It's an A&M or pass game for me in this one, big man.
I agree with you totally. Arkansas suck. I mean, this team, I think they might get one win against Tulsa, but I don't know if that's even a guarantee. I mean, you look at generally with Arkansas, if you look at their SEC and you say, okay, they're 1-3, you're thinking, okay, well, they probably lost to some tough teams. I mean, this team lost to Colorado State. They lost to North Texas. I mean, they got crushed by Auburn. I mean, Texas A&M is a real team. Okay, they're at home. Their offense has been phenomenal. And I think Mike Elko looks at this as a spot to get that defense right. This Arkansas team isn't good. They're only completing 51% of their passes through the air. This is a dreadful side. For me right now, I'd lean to A&M.
All right, back to the rotation order for the rest of the games. We got through all the noon ones, so that's good. Toledo, Fresno. We've got Fresno 10, 61. You know that Jeff Tedford has only failed to cover the point spread 3 times since coming to Fresno State. That is absolutely remarkable. For that reason, I am not
CFL.
It is Jeff. Well, he was. He's back in the CFL now. Orlando Steinauer, the old DC of Fresno, but they're still playing good D at Fresno. They trounced UCLA recently. Battled Minnesota tough. They're not a team I'm stepping in front of. Fresno has been mispriced in the betting markets from day one of Tedford's reign, and it's still been that way this season. I know Toledo's got a decent offense still, certainly capable of coming through the back door, but Fresno's not a team I have any interest betting against right now.
Okay, again, Ian, I've been on this channel for 5 years, and I find I have to explain this every time. I see there's people in this chat that have a problem that we're going over every game. First of all, we're doing this to help all of you. Second of all, we're not betting every one of these. We're giving you an opinion. Yep. We're trying to give you a quality discussion here. I see people whining about the games that we're going over. Paul Barone is a troll. He always has been. He's a troll on my other show, and he should be removed.
Ego.
Yeah, as far as Devin, I mean, it's not about we're put on these channels to go over games, and we're trying to help everybody, and leave it, of course, to be someone that complain about it.
Yep.
But yes, we're not going to be personally betting every one of these. We're just trying to give you a quality discussion on each game. Toledo, Fresno. You mentioned Fresno's defense. They're going to have to get and stay good quick because this Toledo offense, even under Mitch Guagdani, you think Logan Whiteside leaves, they're not going to be a good offense, but not so fast. This offense is really good. Really good. I mean, they still put up the mid-20s against a good Miami defense, put up 63 last week, put up 66 in their first game. Both these offenses can score. I don't think that's going to be a problem here, but I'll be interested to see how Toledo handles the West Coast trip against a tough defense. This could be the end for them. It's a tough number, though. It's a pass for me.
All right, we got Western Michigan, Miami of O. Tons of money has come in on the Broncos. Miami O, a 3-point home favorite. Now they're a 2.5-point home underdog, 53. I agree with the move. I like Western Michigan. There's some issues with Miami offensively, defensively, couple major injury concerns as well. It's not been the year I expected from Gus Ragland. This is a guy that we were talking about maybe would be one of the better quarterbacks in the MAC. It's not really transpired for him. Western Michigan, on the other hand, maybe starting to get right a little bit. That was a good dominating win last week on the road, albeit against Georgia State, but a good dominating win. I like their offense a lot. Wasink, the quarterback's been good. He's got weapons. The defense finally stepped up, played better. I think they can take care of business, beat Miami O here. I like the Broncos side of this one.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head here. I mean, I don't have a lot of comments. The way you beat Western Michigan is by throwing the football, hitting them vertically. Bowling Green was able to kind of, they're a team that can maybe do that. Or I think Western Michigan, is a team that will struggle. Some of these offenses, Toledo should be able to have a field day against Western Michigan, but I don't think Miami of Ohio can do it. I mean, you look at this year, they've only had one game where they've thrown for over 150 yards, and that was against Marshall in the first game of the season. I like Western Michigan. I like their offense. They have two quality running backs, Bogan, and I forget the other guy's name. But overall, they've been real solid. I'm not in belief that Miami of Ohio can move the ball. I don't really look at one game against Bowling Green and get all giddy. This team was shut out against Cincinnati. They scored 3 against Minnesota. They lost to Marshall. They're just not a good football team. I like Western Michigan. This is a sneaky game on the card. I think this is a pretty good play. I'd lean money line. I'm not crazy about laying 2 points. I just really rather would go up the money line and lay 120, 125. I think this is a solid play. I don't think Miami of Ohio are very good. I wonder when Chuck Martin will get the boot. He probably won't because he took them to a bowl game last year. Big deal. This team had Ben Roethlisberger one time at quarterback. This Ohio team just doesn't win much anymore, and their offense stinks. I like WMU.
All right, Florida State, Louisville. Florida State 5.5, total 45. This is one of the easiest games on the board for me because there's no way I'm laying points on the road with Florida State with what I've seen out of their offense. I know last week they got it going a bit, but that was Northern Illinois at home. Now you're on the road. There's no way in hell I'm taking Louisville either. They got issues. Bobby Petrino replaced Juwan Pass with Malik Cunningham, who was completely shut down by Virginia last week, and now he's going back to Juwan Pass again. Instead of giving Cunningham a chance to maybe work out of it, he's flip-flopping quarterbacks again. That's a red flag to me. That's a coach that's panicking. That's a coach that's losing grasp of this team as far as I'm concerned. Bobby Petrino his seat's getting warmer. Now, this is an impossible game. I'm not laying points on the road with FSU, and I don't want Louisville, so pass for me.
Yeah, I thought last week, you look at FSU against Northern Illinois, it's a good spot for them to kind of lay it in, and they were able to do it. I think Louisville's in another sad state right now. This team stinks. They're not any good. I mean, last week was ugly. You only put up 3 points against Virginia. I mean, look, I know the Cavaliers are better, but that's just kind of pathetic. I think you're right. I think Petrino is kind of losing this team. I think you could see maybe him get the boot pretty soon. Not a spot I'm crazy about. Mostly a pass, but I think Florida State's 6 points better than Louisville.
All right, Ohio State, Penn State, 3.5. Ohio State on the road, total 67.5 in this game. Totals come down a bit, and I'm a little bit surprised by that. We had 39-38 last year, 2 explosive offenses. I don't see what changes. I think you've got 2 good quarterbacks, Dwayne Haskins and Trace McSorley. Penn State's got balanced offense. So is Ohio State. Mike Weber's going to go in this game, so they'll have him at running back. You got 2 teams that can run it, can throw it. And 2 defenses that, let's be honest, Ohio State gave up points and yards to the likes of TCU, Oregon State earlier this year. Penn State got shredded by App State. Pitt moved the ball at will against them in the first half of that game. Hell, Illinois last week moved the ball for extended stretches during that game. Where are the stops? I don't see it. I'm shocked this total has come down. I thought 70, 69.5, 70 was too low. It's down to 67.5. Like the over even more now.
Yeah, look, I've said this all week. I don't think Penn State are as good as people think. I think they're a total fraud, frankly. And I think that'll be proven tonight. I think Ohio State is a much better football team. I think they're just going to run it down the fucking throats of the Nittany Lions. Penn State can't stop the run. You and I both know it. Let's stop with the elephant in the room. They can't stop the run. This is not – ESPN won't tell you this. This is why ESPN fucking sucks, because they won't tell you this. They can't stop the run. It's just that simple. Sorry. I don't give a shit about a whiteout. I don't give a shit about people camping out since Monday. I don't give a shit. That's not relevant to me, and I don't know why I care. Why do I give a fuck if some kid up at Penn State sat out since Monday, waited for tickets? Why do I care about that? That isn't relevant. I don't think that whiteout matters. I don't think any of that stuff matters. Ohio State is going to go in and kick the shit out of the Penn State Nittany Lions. I'll go 37-27. Ohio State.
All right. How about that score prediction too? Ark State, Georgia Southern. Ark State laying 3.5 total, 54 in this game. Not really much here. Arkansas State still a team I like quite a bit. I'd lean that way, but not really much in this game. How about you?
Yeah, you know, it's always tough when you're going on the road and facing a triple option team that has been better since the coaching change. Chad Lunsford's come in and done a pretty nice job for Georgia Southern. I was quite impressed with how well they played against UMass, really shut that offense down. We're able to run the ball as always. Look, Arkansas State is going to have trouble in this game because you look at last week against UNLV, the Rebels ran for 310 yards. I do want to make it clear, though, I want to discuss more about that game. You know, I know you had UNLV last week, and I thought they were the right side, and they were. They ended up covering, but there was a lot of rain in that game. The adverse conditions weren't great for Arkansas State's offense. So I think, you know, on a better weather front, they look better. I do like their offense, though. I think they have some solid running backs, and I like their coach. But 3 and a hook, it's tough. Georgia Southern's improved. Pass for me, though.
Tennessee, Georgia. This is a pass for me. I'm not in the business of laying more than 4 touchdowns in a flat spot, but I don't want Tennessee. Jarek Guarantano's had a tough year. That offense did nothing last week against Florida. This offense somehow only put up 28 points against UTEP a few weeks ago. That's hard to do. And somehow Tennessee did it. There's no way I touch Tennessee, but this is not an optimal spot for Georgia. They got a bigger game on deck next week, so this is a game I leave alone. I've been riding Georgia overs, and they've cashed almost every week, and I'm leaning that way again. But I've got real concerns about Tennessee even scoring more than 7 in this game. So this is a week I'm jumping off Georgia over train.
I mean, why would you think they could score? This team can't ever score. They stink. They're not any good. They have no quarterback play. Georgia's an absolute rock on defense. Gabe and I were talking about this game. He said he maybe likes the over, and I said, well, yeah, I think you got to worry a little bit more about can Georgia score or can Georgia pitch a shutout here, which I think they could. Yep. Tough game. I'd lean under, though.
There you go. Georgia win to 0. We wish that was a soccer opportunity at our disposal with that one. Liberty, New Mexico. We've got New Mexico laying 7-65. Should be points in this game. Liberty likes to throw it. And now New Mexico likes to throw the football as well because they've completely changed their offense this year. Went from the option attack. Now they're running it. They're throwing it. They're going up tempo this year under Bob Davie. So I think we see points in that game. Liberty sort of crashed back down to earth a little bit after a nice little hot start they had early in the season, but still a dangerous offensive team. I'd actually lean a little to the new favorite here, New Mexico, but I like the over more.
Yeah, it's funny, and quickly, late money coming in on Rutgers. On my local, it's down to 14.5 in that game. Interesting.
I don't know if that's more pro Rutgers or anti. We don't want to lay 2 touchdowns on the road with the Hoosiers, and I could see that.
As far as Liberty, New Mexico, I agree with you. I don't think New Mexico can stop the pass, and it's clear, you know, the Liberty Flames can't stop the run. So, I mean, Ian, you look at the last 2 weeks for Liberty. This team has given up 795 yards in the ground. I mean, just dreadful numbers. And Tuioti's back for New Mexico, the quarterback. That's a nice shot in the arm for them. I think this game goes way over.
Southern Miss Auburn. We've got Auburn laying 27-53. This was my play of the day video. I'm taking the big dog here. Look, Last week, it's going to say 34-3 Auburn. They were outgained by Arkansas, outgained by 65 yards. They feasted on turnovers and Arkansas mistakes, special teams miscues by Arkansas. Auburn couldn't move the football for extended parts of that football game against a depleted, bad Arkansas defense. The run game was stymied. Stidham was a little erratic throwing the football. And it's a concern that Gus Malzahn has. You have a huge game now next week with Mississippi State. And in between Arkansas last week in that game, you got this one. And Jack Abraham is the quarterback right now for Southern Miss. If you haven't seen him play, he's thrown the ball very well. He's got almost 70% completions. And when I want a big underdog, I don't want the big underdog that if they're going to find 7 points in a game. I want a big underdog that can score a little bit, that can throw the football, that can get in the back door. Southern Miss is capable of doing that here. I've been impressed with them from a passing perspective, and that's the weakness of Auburn's defense. Their defensive line's fantastic, but their secondary, you can make some plays throwing the football against them. A little bit of a sneaky big dog. I don't need Southern Miss to even sniff coming close to winning this game. 14-point, 21-point loss. And Gus Malzahn and Auburn have been horrible home favorites and horrible non-conference home favorites in this kind of price range. Something like 5-14 against the spread. Yeah, I'll take my chances with Southern Miss here, plus the big points.
Yeah, I think you have another thing working for you as well. Southern Miss is 9th in the country in total defense. They've done a nice job this year. You mentioned Abraham, a quarterback. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'd love to get 4 touchdowns, if I could in this one, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm never for buying points, but I mean, if you can get a 27.5 out there, maybe buy the half point up to 28, maybe get a little insurance there on a 4 touchdown win. But yeah, Auburn, this is a low spot in the schedule, Ian. Obviously, you saw what La Tech did to LSU last week. Auburn's got to go to Cowbell Country next week and kind of start their SEC season. So, yeah, I think this would be a game that Southern Miss has circled. And I think maybe they can hang here. I like the play.
All right, very good. Next up, we're going to go rapid fire. We'll stay on for about 10 more minutes, get through the rest of the card. Iowa State, TCU, 10.5, 46.5 the total. Matt Campbell and Iowa State have been phenomenal road underdogs and phenomenal double-digit road underdogs. Remember, they covered at against Oklahoma earlier this year in this rule. I don't bet against Iowa State catching this many points. They've been phenomenal in this point spread range, but I am worried that this is TCU off 2 straight losses. Gary Patterson not happy. That you lose to Ohio State, you lose to Texas last week, circle the wagon spot, and TCU was laying a lot more points than this when they played Iowa State last year. Now they're only laying 10.5, so it's a good spot for TCU bounce back, but Iowa State's been too good in this price range for me to step in their way either, so this is a game I left alone here.
Yeah, pass. I don't got anything on this one.
All right, next up we've got Baylor, Oklahoma, 21.5, 68 the total. There's whispers Kyler Murray might sit out a half or a quarter in this game, facing discipline issues. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but something you want to keep in mind. Either way, I don't know if I trust Baylor. I mean, Matt Rule's still showing you that it's a long road that he's got to try to get this program and eradicate the stench that Art Briles left behind. And it's not been easy for him, not whatsoever. I kind of like Brewer, the quarterback, but he still, I think, needs to improve and get more consistent. The defense is starting to rear its ugly head again for Baylor. They've struggled at times to get stops. Not interested in Baylor, but after what we saw against Army last week, they escape Oklahoma. Is that the kick in the pants needed for a good full 60-minute effort today? We'll see, but I don't want the dog. It's favorite or pass.
Yeah, I disagree. I've been kind of on the other side with Baylor all season, and they're 3-1, so I guess it's worked out okay. But not great competition in the one step-up game. They didn't lose to Duke, but I'll tell you what. I think they're getting somewhere with this team. I think they can see bowl eligibility coming. This is a team that won 1 game last year. This is a team that is trying to get back to football. They had some things off the field that were vile and they had to get past. But, Rule has done an okay job so far with kind of trying to get this team back in his first real full season. I'm going to tell you this. I think this is too many points. I think Oklahoma's a bit skitsy right now, frankly. You look at the last 2 games. You almost lost to Army. You didn't play particularly well against Iowa State. UCLA was able to move the football with a bad team. Ian, I think they'll cover. It won't surprise me if Oklahoma is struggling in the 4th quarter in this game. I think Baylor, I want to say this game, like they could, I have a soft spot for this team. I don't know why. I guess it's the Matt Rule connection. I don't know, but I want to say that I feel like this game's gonna be wild. I don't know why. Do I take Baylor to win the game? I don't know. Maybe
Oh, we'll see. Yeah,
little shot on the money line.
yeah, maybe skip. Yeah, exactly. Maybe skip the points and just go Baylor money line and just maybe take that chance.
I think the 21 looks decent though. A&M's already up 7-0.
I know they ran the kickoff back. Unbelievable. They ran the opening kickback. Yeah. UTEP, Texas, San Antonio. This is another one of the easiest games on the board for me. You want to lay 9.5 with UTSA and that pathetic offense and quarterback play? Be my guest. But on the flip side, you want to back maybe the single worst team in college football and UTEP? Not me. Pass.
I'll tell you what. I don't think it's out of the question to think UTEP can win this game. I mean, UTSA stink. This team sucks.
It's the battle of who's going to one up the other in suckitude in this game. That's really what it's all about.
But if you're UTEP, I mean, if this is like a game, like, isn't this a game you look at and say, well, maybe we can win a game? This might be it. I mean,
well, I don't know. It could be. When it's two bad teams like this, and especially in this price range, I guess dog before favorite would always be what I go with, but I'm staying far away from that one. Purdue, Nebraska, here's one I'm not staying far away from. I bet this total, it's up. It's gone up a little bit since I got it, 57.5. It's 58.5 now. Totals Purdue laying 3. Tough game from a side perspective because I think Nebraska is a little bit better than their record indicates, even though they've struggled so far. But I like what I saw to David Blau running this Purdue offense last week. He looked in control against Boston College. They put up points. They beat a good Boston College team. They shut down A.J. Dillon. I'm not back going against Purdue right now. I think if you back Purdue week in and week out moving forward, you're going to start making some money with this team. I think they're going to start improving as the season goes along. I'm just going to bet the total in this game. I do think we get points. I think Martinez will play better. Blau looks like he's settling in very well. And Nebraska's still got a very, very porous defense as we've seen all season long. So I like that game to have a lot of points in bunches. Two teams that play fast over the total for me, Purdue, Nebraska.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, Ian. I won't waste time here. I agree with you on that.
All right, Texas, Kansas State, 8.5, 48.5 the total here in this game. And I know everybody's going to be talking about, oh, here's Kansas State. Bill Snyder is a dog. Oh, it's a great play. K-State sucks. Okay, they're just absolutely not good this season, not whatsoever. They're brutal. They're absolutely awful. This long-term sample size of Bill Snyder as a dog, chuck it in the garbage can because it doesn't compute to this K-State team this year. They're bad. They didn't cover as a dog against Mississippi State. They didn't cover as a dog against West Virginia. They got badly outclassed as far as I'm concerned in both of those games. No defense, no quarterback play, no playmakers, nobody that can break a tackle in the open field on offense. Nothing to like. This is not a good spot for Texas. I don't like Herman in a favorite role like I do in the underdog role, and I've been big on Texas the last couple of weeks against USC and TCU. I had them in both games, but this is not the spot I want them in. That being said, K-State's not playing good enough that I would even consider their side in this game. It would still be Texas or pass. And Texas seems to be getting their shit together. They've played some really good football these last couple of weeks. To me, it's a Longhorns or pass spot for me, even though it's not the greatest of situations for Texas off 2 big wins.
Yeah, but they're 8-9 as a favorite over the last 3 years, and they've only won 10 of those 17 games. I don't like them as a favorite. I just don't. And now they're going to win by double digits. Kansas State, though, looks unbackable, but this is a precarious situation at home. You don't got a ton of root for there, but I'm willing to think if you're going to get up for a game, it's maybe this one. But, yeah, it's a tough one. K-State is a bad team.
This is a total that I thought would be more in the low to mid-40s than where it is right now. I'd lean under the total in this game as well, Texas, K-State. I don't know where the points come from, especially on the K-State side against that defense. Louisiana Tech, North Texas. Yeah.
Let's do 3 or 4 more. You want to do 3 or 4 more?
Yeah, La Tech, North Texas, 763. Over the total makes sense. I mean, North Texas, I'm not betting against North Texas, big man. They're great. They're improved defensively. Mason Fine and that Seth Luttrell run offense has been fantastic. I'm not going against North Texas, but I like Jamar Smith, the La Tech quarterback. I think there's points there.
Yeah, and La Tech's going to throw the ball too. They're 14th in the country. North Texas 12th in the country throwing the football. Yeah, I would think both teams would throw it to the death. 63 looks good. 7-0 West Virginia, by the way.
There you go. Early touchdown there. Charlotte, UAB 16 and a half. I'm worried about UAB in this price range. I actually lean Charlotte, believe it or not. UAB is still not that team that I think of as a great big favorite. Charlotte, has been capable at times this season. Lean Charlotte, but nothing I love there. Anything there, big man?
No. You want to get to some big games, Ian? A couple big games left.
Yes. All right. We'll go very quick here so we can get done in 5 minutes. Marshall, Western Kentucky, 3.5, 51.5. I got not much here in this game at all. Florida, Mississippi State, 7, 48.5, 49. I'm on Mississippi State here in this game. I think it's a bounce back for them. Florida, I don't trust them at all offensively. They're still not showing you anything. Felipe Franks has not been good at the quarterback spot. I think Mississippi State off a bad loss. Joe Moorhead was not happy with this team. They come out and flex their muscles a little bit today. Florida, even against Tennessee last week, they barely outgained the Vols. Vols self-destructed in that game, led to a lot of those Florida points. Mississippi State, if you can get -7, that's the side I'd go with there.
Well, it's actually on some books down to 6.5. So if you like Mississippi State, maybe wait on it. Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, Mississippi LSU, 10.5, 61 the total. There's not the price range I like LSU in, but can I trust Ole Miss? That's the question. I left the game alone. You got anything on this one?
I think Ole Miss wins. I don't think Joe Burrow's very good. I mean, I guess compared to Danny Etling, he's okay, but I mean, I'm not sure how good he is. Is their defense good? Sure it is. But they did give up 330 passing yards to La Tech.
Yeah. We
know Ole Miss what they're going to do. I think this could be a swan songy type of game for Matt Luke. This team's 3-1. You got Yo Monroe next week. I think you get max effort here from Ole Miss. Don't be surprised if they win. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. Oklahoma State, Kansas, someone asked about that. That game started already, so can't talk about that one. Coastal Carolina, Troy, 14-57. Troy or nothing. Coastal Carolina lost their quarterback, Kilton Anderson, and he was playing very well for them. They're going to a backup now. Troy might be showing signs of starting to get things together. Remember, they beat Nebraska on the road a couple weeks ago. Troy or pass for me, laying the 14 there.
Yeah, Coastal Carolina's quarterback out in this game. I agree with you.
Florida Atlantic, Middle Tennessee State. MTSU +3. I think that's a decent side. I mean, FAU's got issues. Thompson, the quarterback, is frustrating Lane Kiffin. He's reaming his defense for not playing well, not tackling well. That doesn't get solved overnight. You just got bad defensive personnel, Lane. And it's been that way all season long. You haven't gotten stops. You haven't been able to stop anybody. I think Stockstill can move the ball enough to win this game. I'm actually surprised this line was at 3 all week. Now, finally, MTSU money coming in at home. I agree. I think Blue Raiders can win the game. I think it's also higher scoring. Blue Raiders plus the points over 62 for me in that game.
I mean, again, you just kind of look at how bad this defense has been. I mean, you gave up over 320 yards to Bethune-Cookman.
That's bad.
And 28 points. I mean, look, all respect to the MEAC, but I mean, Bethune-Cookman should not be scoring 28 points against your team at home. Yeah, I don't have any reason to think they could stop Brent Stockstill. Stockstill will throw it around. That's what he does. I lean over.
All right, USC, Arizona. Speaking of overleans, that's where I'm leaning with this game. It's gone up 58.5, 59. It's up to 60, 61. USC got their offense going. I like the over last week. JT Daniels got it going. Arizona's defense is terrible. I think USC should be able to move the ball. Arizona's getting better offensively in terms of their O-line. It was in shambles early in the season. They're getting some parts back to it. The left tackle should be back. The right guard might be back for this game as well for Arizona. That should make Khalil Tate a little bit more settled in the pocket and actually allow him to use his escapability a bit more. I could see this being a higher scoring game. Not in love with laying USC -3. It's my lean, but like the over a bit more.
Agreed. I'll go over as well.
All right, next up, we got Boise, Wyoming. There's nothing that makes me want Wyoming here. This is Boise. I don't think they've played, as far as I know, from the Oklahoma State game. They're going to be smelling blood, I think. I'm not sure Wyoming can do anything about it. How about everybody going nuts about how great Wyoming looked against New Mexico State in the very first game of the season? And they've looked like a much different team, it seems, ever since, particularly that much ballyhooed defense. So this is not a spot I want the dog. It's Boise or nothing.
Ian, I want to tell you something. There's a guy in this business that I've followed since I was a kid. He's a personal friend of mine. He's like a father to me. He's kind of like my mentor, if you will. He's a real sharp guy in South Philly. He called me last night. He said, listen, cuz he said, put Boise State in and go to bed. I said, all right. I got you. He loves Boise today. Thinks they crush Wyoming. And this guy is probably the greatest college football handicapper in the history of the country. And he's an old guy, and he knows what he's talking about. I agree with him here. I agree with him on Wyoming. This team was surprisingly can't move the ball. But that's no surprise because their quarterback's gone. Josh Allen left, and they have a freshman. They're not going to score a lot of points in this game.
And against this defense with David Moa back on it, that's not going to be fun.
I'll go 38-10 Boise.
Yeah, it could get away from Wyoming. I could definitely see that. Hawaii, San Jose State. I'm not in love with laying 10 on. San Jose State's flat out bad. If I had to play a side in this game, it's Hawaii or nothing laying the 10. But Hawaii minus 10 on the road is not the price range or profile that I like to back Hawaii in. But I do like the over in this game. You just ride Hawaii overs. Cole McDonald's just been lighting it up all season, and it hasn't stopped. And they actually gave Army a good battle in their last game, despite a bad travel spot.
This is like the dorky, I think I'm a sharp play of the year. You know, all these cornballs are on the San Jose, Chris Felica and all these dopey guys on the Action Network. They all love San Jose. Why they love San Jose, no one knows. No one has any idea why they like San Jose. They just like San Jose. They couldn't tell you anything about them, but they like San Jose. Even though San Jose can't move the ball, they're one of the worst defenses in the country. And I'm supposed to care that it's fucking San Jose homecoming? Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
The three people that are there might care. That's about it.
That's like saying it's, I got a family reunion today. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a big hairy asshole? I couldn't care less. Hawaii's going to come in and shred them. That's what's going to happen. So I'm supposed to care because San Jose State's crowning their homecoming queen at halftime? Who cares?
No, exactly. I want to take. I might take Hawaii. It's a late game. By that time of night, I'm like, I might get some action in on that. Take Hawaii minus 10. It's the only way I would back it. Their defense concerns me still, but can San Jose State do enough about it? That's the question. Stanford, Notre Dame, 52 the total, 5 the number. Notre Dame in a good situational spot. I mean, Stanford's off the miraculous comeback win against Oregon, a game they had no business winning, but they found a way. Now you got to travel to South Bend, face this Notre Dame team. Ian Book has been obviously an upgrade at quarterback. It's amazing Brian Kelly's trying to be coy and not announce his quarterback. We know damn well Ian Book's going to get the start again based on the way he played against Wake Forest last week. I think there's points in this game because I think Stanford can move it with their balanced offense. Costello is a good thrower of the ball when David Shaw lets him throw the football, which unfortunately he keeps needing to do more often because they just stack the box and try to stop Bryce Love. So let him throw the ball. Notre Dame, I think, can put up points. I like over 52. And from a side perspective, it's a tough spot for Stanford. I would have to lean Notre Dame.
Hey, Ian, I heard through the grapevine. Is it true you want to change your name to Ian? Is that true?
I said I would never do that. I'm talking about we were talking in general about people changing their pronunciation of their names out of the blue. It seems everybody's doing that. Malik Rozier now, Tyrod Taylor, guys that have changed their names. Why don't you just call me Ian Cameron now? I mean, it's
okay because I heard you were actually,
but that's not happening.
That's what I heard.
No. Ian is the way I was brought up thinking. It was Ian, and that's the way I stay by that. All right, we're down to our last two games, and then we'll call it a show, and then actually we'll do best bet, one from each of us at the end. Michigan, Northwestern. Michigan, 15.5, 16, total 47.5. Here's another one, like the K-State game, big man. Bill Snyder is an underdog, has been a great play for a decade plus. Pat Fitzgerald is an underdog, has been a great play for a decade plus. But man, alive, am I concerned about Northwestern. Jeremy Larkin retires from football. And he was so much of their offense. It was unbelievable. And now you got to put all the weight on the shoulders of Clayton Thorson, who's really had an up and down season against this Michigan defense, which keeps getting better, it seems, as the season goes along. I want to take Northwestern because they've been so good in this point spread role for years, but I've got concerns if they can move the football here. I'll tell you what, though, Michigan laying this number on the road, that's not a spot I like to lay this kind of number in with Jim Harbaugh, not even maybe. So lean Northwestern, but they got a lot of concerns offensively going into this game.
Hey, Ian, let me ask you, what do you think's more eventful today? Down the street, Calvary Baptist Church is having a pancake breakfast, or the San Jose State homecoming. What do you think's more well attended?
Oh, I'll take a pancake breakfast over that stupid San Jose State homecoming. I love my pancake breakfast. A little maple syrup, a little
Yeah,
honey on it there,
sure,
nice
sure.
little butter, maybe a
Uh,
little side.
I agree with you. By the way, as far as Notre Dame Stanford, I think that's a close game. Northwestern Michigan. 15. I'm not. I don't love those kind of numbers. I'd prefer 14. But you mentioned Northwestern, a tough kind of thing with Larkin there. This defense can't stop the pass. Michigan's starting to roll. I have a concern about Northwestern moving the football in this game. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough. I'm not willing to step in front of Michigan, but I'd prefer 14 instead of 15.
All right, next up, we've got Oregon, Cal, 2.5. Unfortunately, everybody's lined up with the way. I actually got 3.5 this week on the Cal side. It's gone down. Look, this is just this is we're going to find out about Cristobal. Can you bring your players back up on their feet and off the mat after just a gut-wrenching, gut punch, horrendous, heartbreaking loss last week against Stanford? We're going to find out here in this game. What I do know is this is Justin Wilcox and Cal at home as an underdog in a price range where I'm always interested in backing Cal. Off a bye week too, no less. So a chance to really put in a defensive scheme and game plan to maybe frustrate Oregon a little bit. Won't be easy. Justin Herbert played a phenomenal football game, almost a perfect game, even though they fell short against Stanford. It wasn't Justin Herbert's fault. He was terrific, but I've got concerns he can duplicate that. You play a near perfect game like that as a quarterback, it's very hard to duplicate that the next week in the very next game. I like Cal here. And it breaks my heart. I like Oregon a lot, but I think there's a dubious spot. They're off a tough game last week, and Cal is a dog, and Wilcox in this point spread range, I'm always interested, just like I was against BYU earlier this season. They won that game, and I think they can win this one. I like Cal at home.
Yeah, I agree. I said earlier in the week I liked Cal. I think this is a game. When you're a guy like Justin Wilcox, you're trying to build a program. This is the game where you believe that you can win. You look at and you say this could be a big game for us as a program. And you're getting an Oregon team right now that's a little mentally weak. I think this team has failed to cover an 8 of 10 on the road. They're off a bad loss. This Cal defense has been stingy. Don't think you're going to go into Cal and just move the football. This is a way better defense than we're used to. They've been very good all year. Shut down a good BYU team. Shut down an ACC team as well. I think Oregon go in and struggle in this game. I point to a game last year for Ian Cameron for Cal. They hosted Washington State in a very similar game last year. Washington State had been rolling. They kicked the hell out of Cal, out of Washington State. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. This Oregon team's, I think, a little mentally weak right now. I like Cal. I think they win.
There you go. How about that? Who else is doing that? Who else is doing what we just did? We got through every freaking game on the FBS college football board today. We did it, Big Man and I. Great show, great stuff. Let's wrap it up, Big Man. One best bet from me, one best bet from you to wrap it up.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, look, you'll get other shows that try to, imitate Ian Cameron and I, but here's the trouble. They're just not going to. I mean, we just bring it. That's what we do. Yeah, as far as a best bet, I got to tell you, I mean, I think there's some real good overs on the card, and they're going to be played by me. But I got to tell you, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Western Michigan game. I'm not crazy about going on the road laying points. I just think they're a better football team. I like their offense. I think they're starting to kind of feel it a little bit. They've covered 6 of 8 as a road favorite, and in this price range, they've covered 4 in a row. I like this group. I don't like Miami, Ohio. I don't think they're very good through the air, and I think that's what you have to do to beat Western Michigan. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I think this group gets it done here in a near pick'em situation. I'll go Western Michigan to beat Miami of Ohio.
And I'm going to go Purdue, Nebraska over the total, 58. That one is still out there at the Greek. I think David Blau got things going last week against a good Boston College team. He's going to move against Nebraska this football. He should, because Nebraska's defense hasn't stopped anyone. But I think Martinez is healthier this week. He's going to be able to have some success moving it against Purdue's defense here, especially at home. I think that's going to help him in terms of performance. You remember Nebraska, too. Some of their better offensive performances this season have come in Lincoln on that home field. So I think we see points there. Again, we got 2 very fast up-tempo offenses, Braum on the Purdue side, Scott Frost on the Nebraska side. You're going to see pace, and I think you're going to see points. We'll go Purdue, Nebraska over 58 for my best bet. Great show, guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. It was great. We're going to try to maybe go quicker, a little quicker next week with every game on the board, but I love doing this every week. It's fantastic. Gives everyone a chance to get an opinion on every single game, and hopefully it helps you out with your wagers throughout the course of the day. We'll be back tomorrow, actually. Big Man and I tomorrow. Sunday, Donnie and him are hosting the NFL closing line at noon Eastern, and I'll be on as a special guest at 12:20.
Actually, you'll be on there with Donnie, so I won't be there. So,
okay.
It'll be you and Donnie, I believe, for a few minutes.
All right, just me and Donnie Sunday on the closing line. Very good. Big Man, always fun. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Time to get watching these Saturday college football games. To everyone, thanks for watching. Enjoy the games, and good luck.
Thank you.